Hello learners, I welcome you all to the 54th lecture on amicus curiae in investment arbitration. So in a sense, the concept that we are going to discuss in this lecture is built upon the earlier lecture. So in the earlier lecture, we spoke about transparency in investment arbitration, how it is significant, especially when an environmental regulatory measure is challenged. So, building on that, where we spoke about access to information, access to what's happening in arbitral proceeding, access to arbitral award. Here we are talking about one other aspect, which is making written submission to arbitral tribunal regarding the subject matter of the dispute which relates to an environmental concern. So that is what we are talking about in this lecture. So amicus curiae literally means friend of the court, and therefore the concept of amicus curiae submission means that outsiders or third parties who are not party to the dispute should be allowed to make submission before the arbitral tribunal, and then the arbitral tribunal can look at these submissions while reviewing the environmental regulatory measure. So this is what the roughly the concept means. Why is it very significant for reconciling environmental principles within the field of international investment law? Because if at all the written submissions of third parties are allowed, that broadens the scope of the nature of the dispute itself. There may be an environmental concern. The investor may look at the environmental concern only from the perspective of how it creates an adverse economic impact for the investment. The host state may look at defending the environmental measure. So when we allow a third party to make a submission, they may bring in a fresh perspective that does not come from the perspective either the investor or the host state itself. So then the tribunal could have access to broader knowledge with regard to the subject matter of the dispute. So it is generally something that may be preferable, especially when an investment arbitration involves an environmental measure. In that case, the tribunal should get its hands on with regard to any additional evidence that comes into the picture. Especially an environmental issue would be something wherein there might be a requirement of additional scientific evidence. In that case, an NGO or a scientific body that is working in the field of that particular subject matter of the dispute may be in a position to give an updated knowledge on the scientific evidence front to the arbitral tribunal, right? So in that case, when arbitral tribunal has access to updated knowledge, then it can better review the environmental measure that is that's present to the arbitral tribunal. When we looked at few decided cases in the 6th, 7th and 8th week of the course, we did notice that some arbitral tribunals refer to scientific evidence while deciding the case. Chimutra and Methanex, all of them looked at the scientific evidence, whereas most of the arbitral tribunals did not go into the question of scientific evidence as well. So that also Metal Clad, Ungalab and Gold Reserve. So all of these cases, the tribunal did not go into the question of scientific evidence as well. So one thing is access to scientific evidence for the tribunal is important, and that may be a possibility if amicus curiae submissions are accepted by investment arbitration by the arbitral tribunals. So one is, I don't have to stress the importance of this, but the problem, it's not as easy, right? So we cannot just randomly collect the submissions by third parties. And there are many things that are at play. If we look at, for instance, NAFTA. NAFTA has a provision which says that the written submissions can be made only by disputing parties, and there is an article in NAFTA which defines who are disputing parties. Then it gives a reference to the investor, it gives a reference to the country, right? So other than the written submissions by these disputing parties, NAFTA also talks about confers limited right on other contracting parties under Article 1128. So here, let's say if the case is filed against the United States, then Canada and Mexico can also make written submissions as well. So this is the little broader perspective with regard to the written submissions is mentioned under NAFTA. But in case of other UNCITRAL arbitrations, we only see that the right is conferred on the part of disputing parties to make the written submissions. But the practice of accepting amicus curiae submission is not new. This is something we also see in other international forums. For example, ECHR or WTO or so ICJ. So we see that other international forums also accept amicus curiae submissions. So since we are talking from the perspective of international investment law, the closest field for us would be international trade law. So in the next video, we will look at how WTO, the dispute settlement body of WTO, accepts amicus curiae submissions. Then from that, after looking at that, we'll pick up the discussion on whether the same, how can the same be allowed in the context of investment disputes as well. So that we'll discuss in the subsequent videos. So now in this video, we've underscored the importance of accepting amicus curiae submission in the context of an investment dispute where an environment and regulatory measure is challenged. So in the next video, we'll look at how amicus curiae submissions are accepted in the context of World Trade Organization. In the third video onwards for this lecture, we will look at the nitty-gritties of allowing amicus curiae submissions in investment disputes. Thank you.